From the monday.com offices in New York City, this is The Bottom Line, where top marketing experts discuss the revolution happening in the industry of marketing. Let's get into it. It's a debate as old as our field, brand versus performance. And my hot take is that brand is back, brand is queen again. But referencing a graphic here from our friends at the ANA and WARC is that it's also showing to have a positive ROI. So are things shifting? Should we be pointing more budget towards brand in the ratio of our marketing assignment and assessment of our budget? So what are you thinking?
In the early days, it was all brand, and then it moved, very swiftly with the growth of digital into performance, and everyone was got drunk on data and oh my God, I know exactly which metric is going to matter most to drive the sales. And Nike just had this happen to them. They saw their brand love fall off. So the answer isn't or. The answer has always been and. You have to do brand and you got to do demand. And if you don't do them in concert with each other, it won't feel authentic. So it has to feel unified. This slide, it doesn't show it, but done in concert, it really does. It lifts, it can have at least a 2x multiplier on brand plus demand, or brand times demand is even higher if you do one or the other.
I really don't like the words brand and performance. I feel like every touch point builds your brand. So it should be, is a primary objective of this channel to build awareness, is a primary objective to drive an action, right? And we have also heard lately hot takes on how the funnel doesn't exist anymore. It's not a linear path. People can come, the first touch point can be the touch point at the bottom and they can make a purchase. They can also make a purchase from the top of the funnel of an awareness channel. So I think we have to rethink how we do marketing. Everything does brand, and everything should be measured in a way. You can measure awareness efforts. You just can't measure them with the same KPI as an SEM ad or a display ad that you can click and you can make a purchase. So it is our job as CMOs to educate the CEOs and the rest of our organization on the effectiveness or on how our funnel is working and why we are deciding to run ads based on a CPM basis and not based on an acquisition or a demand action. And there's many ways to do it now. You can measure if somebody knows your brand, how more likely are they to then make a purchase. You can do it in test environments, or you can do it post-analysis, you can do match market tests. And that's why I think AI is the moment in which CMOs will be able to measure the full funnel. We couldn't do it before. And that's why we were fighting. If you take money from one part of the funnel to the other, what does it do? But now we can do it.
What other ways can you measure brand? Would you say word of mouth is a good way of measuring brand?
There's so many ways to measure awareness from a brand perspective. The NPS is the most industry standard way of, how much brand love. But there's, it's sad that the performance part of our businesses was measured so heavily, and brand is why are you even doing that? But yes, there are very many ways to measure the actual impact of a brand on a person, brand love, if you will. And when it comes down to human beings, when we're talking back to our AI point, we're still going to be marketing to humans. And you can give them the coupon to activate some activity, but if they don't love your brand, or at least be aware of your brand, they would never consider it. So it seems a little bit presumptuous to have leapt to performance is going to be the only thing that's needed to be done. The problem is the chart is it's spurious because it continues the dialogue of is it this one or that one? It's both. And you have to measure both, of course.
You've got to transcend the transaction at some point. If you never transcend the transaction, you will only ever be a transactional business. And that is a very difficult way to grow and sustain a company, right? If it's just I don't really care who I'm buying this from, but they were the cheapest today, so okay. It's just, you can survive like that, but it's not an easy business. Almost all the most successful companies in the world are those that have something that transcends whatever it is that you're purchasing. And I'll tell you, that we're entering an era now because of AI where it's going to be more important than ever in the history of the world, because AI will flatten out the performance side of it dramatically. It will be on par for many competitors. And what will make you stand out is the actual brand, is the actual word of mouth. Look, word of mouth is more important today than it was yesterday. It will be more important every single day that you draw breath on this planet. Me telling you, here's something that I think you should buy out of my mouth hole, that is truly the only thing that AI can't fake eventually. Human recommendations is the only thing we can't fake. And it will be more and more important to the success of all businesses.
I love that. And I would say the only third thing that maybe we haven't discussed is the product, right? So you have a brand that folks can relate to or get behind or get excited about. Then you have how do we spread the word of the product and the brand? And then you have the product itself, right? So an example just quickly that I'm thinking of is a shower head that's just hit 1 million purchases online, Jolie, if you've heard of them. And they've got a lot of dupes coming up and that's their biggest market challenger. But I'd say that the thing that's going to sustain them long term is the power of their brand and the fact that they did create a new category product. So super interesting.
How do you actually measure the value of a brand? And this is how I've done it. So I think the first thing that you need to ask yourself is, if you have high brand awareness, it's very hard to measure the impact on continuing to build your brand. You can do it via surveys. So let's say when I was working at Walmart, everybody knows Walmart. What you do in that case is you measure more the sentiment towards the brand than brand awareness. And you do it through surveys, and you can see the control and the test, if people they love your brand, how much more likely are they to buy? And it's survey-based, and then you can see if they buy with transactions. When the brand is not famous yet, it's much easier to do. You can do it with a match market test. You can say, I'm going to take 3 markets, and I'm going to compare them with markets that behave in a similar way. I want to please beg CEOs to not ask the CMOs to do a 3-month test, because you don't build brand in a 3-month increments. You build brands with sustained investment, with touch points throughout a full year. It's not like you have to have media for the full year. And then you start seeing that these markets start lifting. People start knowing your brand, and your CAC start getting lower because people transact more when they see a lower funnel ad. Those are the 2 ways in which I've seen that you can test what happens when you invest in the brand, lowering the funnel. And then the second thing, to build on what you were saying, word of mouth. Search engine, search optimization is becoming more important than ever. And it's not going to be something that we can hack anymore. How were we doing SEO before? You would just get as many blog posts as possible, as many backlinks as possible. But now the search engines, both in TikTok, on YouTube, and on GPTs, what they do is they go and look for reputable sources of information and for volume. So if you want to be the answer, if you want to say, hey, ChatGPT, what shower head should I buy? The answer is going to come from how many people are talking about your brand from reputable sources. So of course, word of mouth is more important than ever.
Who's responsible for owning the brand in an organization?
Everyone.
Every individual in the organization colors the brand. There was a really interesting study by Yelp a few years ago, and they looked at people who gave 5-star reviews to restaurants. 90% of the 5-star restaurant reviews never mentioned food. They only mentioned people.
I'm going to do a hot take.
Hot take.
The customer owns the brand.
I was just about to say that.
Because you work in the customer.
I have another hot take. I think it's the company's job to empower the customer to own the brand. So empowering folks to go take your brand, teaching them how to be a part of your brand, spending the time to figure that out and create content for your biggest and best cheerleaders. So
I think the question is interesting because you have to define the brand, what it is. So I consider myself the Pied Piper, if you will. I definitely like to set in my team of brilliant marketers all figuring out what are the 3 things that we definitely want Quad to be known for. So we focus on those and we put all of our effort into that. And then we empower our employee base, which is our largest advocacy set, to understand the story and tell the story successfully, but tell it in a way that's very human in themselves. And then we have 2,200 clients, all of which work with Quad, and it's Midwestern. So there's we love them. And that story is what seeps into the ether. And that's what the brand becomes. Oh, those Quad guys, those people are good people. That's what I love, to see that coming and set it up and then watch it as a piece of power. But so who owns the brand? You're right. At the end of the day, your clients and your customers are the people that retell that story, and the word of mouth point ends up being the thing that's most valued.
it helps with hiring too, no?
Of course, huge. People love that. And you create a team of happy people that are enjoying doing a hard thing together. It's there's nothing you can't do. answer optimization is what's going to be about. So Google is now under serious pressure, especially with OpenAI and Perplexity rolling out their own browsers. I don't know what that browser would look like. It's basically like a text field. Like, what do you want to know?
Yeah.
What are the sneakers I can get for $120 that are size 10 and a half? Here's 4, send it to my house. There's no brand, there's no searching.